Nero and Hell band.
Yeah!
Oh, they're killing it.
Oh, that freaking, he's just whacking that snare drum over there. Whacking it.
So good. So good.
Hot licks.
It's good to be back in the studio.
Good to see this freaking audience is full to capacity.
The whole crew of beautiful, beautiful people as usual.
And
our
ugly.
listeners.
And not beautiful people. Some would say some of these people are ugly. I wouldn't say that, but
I would say that all of our listeners are beautiful.
right. I mean, on the outside, we'll say that. We don't know what they are inside. They could be some ugly people because, you know, we talk about that. We know there's ugly in humanity, so you never know who's in there.
Yeah, that's true.
You never know
That's
who's
true.
out there.
Welcome back for another exciting edition of the Dinner in Hell podcast, where two very amateur historians talk about the atrocious underbelly of history. I am one of those very amateur historians, Brad the Impaler, and with me, as always, Sir Ron of Maiden.
Sir Ron of Maiden, the very amateur historian. We're here at episode 27. This is a freaking special. This is our special episode 27.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a special one. But
It
by
is.
now, we went from amateur historians by our 27th show now. Now we're very amateur historians. We gotten worse. I think we got better by now. We know like Pliny the Elder by, you know.
Yeah, we know
We go
our
back.
Herodotus from our Tacitus.
Yeah, you know, Phallus, you know, Polaris. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah, we're getting better, but we're still just working off of other historians' work.
Since we started the show, we've answered like multiple Jeopardy questions.
To my knowledge,
Very,
yes.
very good information we're passing on.
Yeah. So episode 27, huh?
Episode 27. I was racking my brain of like what other badass number 27s from the world.
Mm-hmm.
And got to think about famous socks catcher Carlton Fisk, number 27. So we could say this is our Carlton Fisk of our show, of our series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is the Carlton Fisk episode.
One of the best socks catchers of our time.
Yeah.
So
Definitely. We'll try to do Mr. Fisk proud tonight. And in order to accomplish that, Ron, what are we talking about?
Well, let me get to it here. We're talking about a Roman emperor. On the last episode, we talked about a torture device used for getting information called the rack.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about a Roman emperor named Nero who used the rack. And we also said, hey, we're going to do a special on Nero. We announced it, and here we are doing it. So today we're talking about Nero, one of the most craziest, freaking wildest Dinner in Hell's most famous.
Yeah, this guy is I think he'd wind up on the Dinner in Hell
Like,
Rushmore.
yeah, like so far I would say we have one person on it, and that's our Shanacha-Paul.
Yeah.
He would be the only person I think is on it.
Yeah,
But I
Asher
think
Paul,
after today's show, I think Nero will have his face carved in it on Native American soil.
his weird dead-looking baby face.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going to include some pictures of statues because the way the eyes are just empty combined with Nero's face is like you can get a sense of the way this guy was from it somehow. Like it's creepy to look at.
Yeah.
You mentioned this. The last episode was the rack. This episode ties into more than just that. At the very minimum, it ties also into the gladiation episode. We'll talk
Right.
about exactly why near the end.
Right. Referring to where the gladiators fought. Yeah. So getting into it, Nero was a man. He was born in Antium.
Yes, it was about 30 miles south of Rome.
Okay.
So I guess you could call it a suburb.
It's like Detroit and Ann Arbor.
Yeah. Well, nah, Ann Arbor's kind of its own thing. Like
No,
Detroit and Troy.
I'm saying distance,
Yeah.
30.
Yeah, so he was the son of Gnaeus Domitius Ahenobarbus
Hell yeah.
and Agrippina the Younger.
Not the elder. Let's be clear.
Yeah, the Younger, who was the sister of a definite future Dinner in Hell subject, Caligula.
The ruler? The emperor?
Yes, who was the emperor of Rome at that time as well.
Okay, Gnaeus, be careful there. You got Caligula's sister.
Yeah, Nero's father died of edema in 39 BC when Nero was 2. An interesting thing about Nero's old man, Gnaeus, is when he was younger, during Emperor Tiberius's days, he was charged by the emperor with, treason, adultery, and incest.
Okay.
But Tiberius died, so Gnaeus got away.
All charges dropped?
All charges dropped.
Can you imagine what he was about to face if he was getting charged with treason? That's like every torture method we've ever reported has always been from treason.
Yeah, like the wheel. The wheel in ancient Rome was for treason or conspiring. Yeah, he might have gotten broken on the wheel. He might have been talking about Gnaeus.
Drawn and quartered was treason. Like,
knowing what we now know, and by the end of this episode, you will too, these charges don't seem like they were false.
right.
It seems like they were probably true.
There's a lot of incest going on back then. A lot of treason.
Yep. Lots of wheeling and dealing.
Treason was running rampant.
Some would say they maybe were playing the Game of Thrones.
Shring. Dun, 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 dun.
I always have trouble going to that major chord there when it switches.
I was trying to like go with you octavically. Octavia.
Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, ba-da-dum. Bum, bum, ba-da-dum, bum, da-da-dum.
You were hired.
At least we were in key.
Shit, man. I had my eyes closed. I couldn't look you in the eye. It was too beautiful.
It's like a mix between Mariah Carey and Jesus. So Nero, born with privilege. He is not expected to because he's kind of far off in the distance, but he is in the line of succession
right
for the throne in Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his uncle Caligula, when he began his reign, was only 24.
Right.
Yeah, so it was thought that there'd be plenty of time for Caligula to father his own children and own, like, rightful heir.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Nero was kind of shoved off to the side.
If he's doing it right, he should be having all kinds of babies.
Yeah. And, but unfortunately, after time, Agrippina sort of fell out of favor with Caligula. And in 39, after her husband's death, Caligula seized Nero's inheritance and sent him to be brought up by his less wealthy aunt, Domitia Lepida.
Great.
Yeah.
You're going to stay at your aunt's
like your
hut.
less rich one. Yeah. Would that be like being sent from like one of like, I don't know, like one of the primary, like, or would it be going to like from like Paris Hilton to like Paris Hilton's cousin?
Yeah.
Yeah, like probably still like a Hilton or whatever, but only has like a trust fund of like a couple $1 million.
Like you live with Clark Griswold, but now you have to live with cousin Eddie. Like for a few.
Yeah.
That's kind of standard level. Like not totally far away, but just not the really lush, cushiony, nice soft blankets.
Yeah, just not tops.
So he lives with his less wealthy aunt.
Yeah, that's where he's living, but
what's Emperor Caligula doing now?
Oh,
enjoying life.
What Emperor Caligula is doing will be the sole focus of a later episode. That's for certain. But important to our story here is that Emperor Caligula gets murdered. His wife Caesonia and their infant daughter Julia Drusilla were all murdered on January 24th of 41 BC. These events led Claudius, Caligula's uncle, to become emperor. Claudius allowed Agrippina, Nero's ma, to return from exile at this point.
Claudius comes back.
Yep.
He's emperor now.
Claudius is the emperor. Now, he had been married twice before this, but as an emperor, he marries Valeria Messalina. See, he had 3 kids from a previous marriages. A boy named Drusus, who was expected to be the heir to the throne, except he died at a young age.
Okay.
The other 2 are Claudia Octavia and Britannicus.
Boy and girl. Right?
Yes, Claudia is a female and Britannicus is a male.
Britannicus. Get over here, Britannicus, and bring your encyclopedia. We got to figure out what good name for this encyclopedia, by the way. But get in here, Britannicus.
Yes. Like, you little fucking dork. Like, what's an aardvark?
It's the first word in my new book.
An aardvark is a creature.
It's got a long snout.
Inhalers haven't been invented yet.
They eat 400 pounds of worms a year. They love termites. Dude, your freaking Britannicus impression was perfect.
You know, he's like pushing up his glasses.
Yeah, can I be freaking Claudius? Britannicus, get in here. Carry that big old book with you and that feather and ink. Get in here.
Hold on. You know, okay, what can I help you guys with?
Look, I need you to be a man today. You're my blood son now. So you got to know that one day I'm going to promise you, son. I'm going to promise that you're going to be emperor one day when I die. You're going to be the rightful heir. How does that make you feel?
Sure, but I guess it makes me nervous, I guess.
And just promise me you won't let this Nero son of this cousin of yours or whatever that you'll meet later, Nero, push you around.
For some reason, I'm already scared of him.
So Claudius is married to Valeria Messalina, and eventually
Claudius, I couldn't really get a good reason why, but he executed Valeria Messina to take up with Agrippina.
Right. Oh, now, it's Claudius's niece, by the way, Agrippina.
Yeah. There's a lot of close relations going on in royalty, as everybody knows. Mm-hmm. Why they're all weird looking.
Yeah, and why they're all just like not normal, like they don't use normal thoughts when it comes to like killing and how. Mm-hmm. A lot of Jason Voorhees is out there.
Yeah.
Fucking, you're out, snap him in half. Like, only a freaking weird inbred would think that's okay.
Sure.
Dinner and Hell theory, dude, is they were all inbred and they all didn't have any sense.
Yeah, and Agrippina, like, look at what she managed to do. She, like, snakes on in there with her uncle, convinces him to murder his wife and marry her.
I mean, what a great decision for a woman to marry a man who just had his wife executed or executed himself, but still like, yeah, he just killed his wife. I think I want to marry this man.
That's why the throne's made of swords. It reminds you what's at stake when you play the game.
So Agrippina moves in. She's married to the emperor now. She's the empress. Mm-hmm. She has her son Nero with her. And Claudius has
his
Octavia,
his 2 children,
and Britannica, the rightful heir. Go on.
Yeah. So after Claudius marries Agrippina, Nero is declared an adult at age 14, and a little bit later on, at age 16, Nero marries Claudia Octavia, his stepsister. Yes. Yeah. It's like you know, Greg and Marsha banging, I guess.
It's a big party over there in Rome.
Yeah, so ironically, marrying his stepsister, not the most incestuous thing about this period of Nero's
Right. They're like, good effort. And they're probably related somehow. You know?
Yeah, I'm sure.
His royalty bloodlines all.
Yeah, because his mom is her dad's niece. I don't even want to try and do that math.
You know how they would show, like on Game of Thrones, they would show them like giving their daughters over to this castle and this daughter goes here? Like, that probably is to keep the blood, like, not freaking inbred, you know? Like the...
But no, it is to keep it inbred. Inbred between, like, the only aristocratic families. But when there's only fucking 20 of them, there's only so distantly related you can be from somebody.
Like, Ned Stark sent Sansa to marry a Lannister.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Like, two different families. Instead of a Lannister daughter and a Lannister son doing it.
Yeah.
They have this, so it's not inbred.
Yeah, that was the Targaryens.
Right.
And still, also the Lannisters.
It's still aristocratic, but it's just so they're not like crossing DNAs.
Yeah, but there'd be a lot of stuff like that scenario, like the Stark sending a daughter to, say the Starks send a daughter to the Lannisters, and then the Lannister and Stark baby could also, theoretically, marry the son of another Lannister and a Stark. And it could be this weird fucking conglomeration of bullshit.
Yeah, they gotta keep that. They gotta keep it written down like in a journal. All right.
Yeah, but they don't give a shit because they fuck each other.
So
yeah, Agrippina, she was definitely something special too, because not only did she inspire the execution of Valerina Messalina, she also somehow convinced Emperor Claudius to name her now adopted son, Nero, as his heir.
Right.
Like, legitimize him. Like, make him an unbastard, like with Ramsay Bolton.
You want to question your dad on... Remember I promised him that it would never happen? When you were Britannica? And I was like, I promise you, you will always be the heir. You will be emperor one day.
So I saw that there was a new decree that said that you just made Nero your heir and you adopted him.
You're coming to me as a man now, and you got a question. You question my decisions. Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, well, it's just that you said that it would be no problem and you wouldn't do that.
Well, have you seen your new stepmother Agrippina shaking her tail feathers up and down these quarters?
Well, there's been some tail feather action, but it's not Agrippina's.
Foreshadow complete. So she could.
I probably shouldn't make light of that, but let's get it out of the way right now. Young Nero, he was molesting the shit out of Britannicus.
And scene. Okay, I'm just kidding.
For what is described by Tacitus as a substantial amount of time.
That's awful. I think Britannica was 2 years younger than Nero, or 3 years.
He was 4 years younger. So at this point, Nero's 16, and Britannicus is 12.
Freaking Nero.
Yeah, he was a horrible, horrible person. He was basically like the worst thing you can imagine being given control of a major country.
Right.
He was a total psychopath. He didn't seem to have any conscience or empathy whatsoever.
I can't even imagine living in a world where like person that is like in charge of your whole society and civilization is a psychopath, like complete sociopath like this.
Yes, it is so far from possible today that this would occur that we can only speculate and imagine what it would be like.
Now,
yeah, and that's pretty fucking ice cold of Claudius, isn't it? Just like, hey, Britannicus, like, sorry, dork. Like, all you get's the books. The books are going to be named after you, but the kingdom, goes to this little psycho.
And you got my word. I know my word doesn't have much power with you right now, but I promise you, Aardvark will remain the first word in your books. How did Emperor what was the cause of Claudius's death?
Well, Claudius was poisoned.
Okay.
And that's how Nero came to power.
He was poisoned, and Agrippina, she had previously had she had like at least 2 marriages previous to this marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And her second husband, she had killed of poisoning.
Yep.
So that's the type of woman that marries a guy that kills his wife.
Yeah.
It's a woman that has killed her previous husband.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Yeah, and she's in the mix. Like, I think all of these people are influential on Game of Thrones. I mean, Nero can be very easily seen in Joffrey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So tell me about Nero, what he would do for fun as a young emperor.
Yeah, so he becomes emperor, age 17, total crazy person, is given the resources of one of the largest empires that's ever existed. One of the most powerful states in the world is 100% under the control of this basically like serial killer type psychopath.
And let's just put this out there that you have to be 19 to be in the NBA. Okay? If you want to tour with grown men and play basketball for money, you have to be 19. This guy's controlling Rome at 17.
Yeah, one of the if not maybe the most powerful state of all time. Yeah, he's in charge, and he doesn't even, you'll see a lot of despotic rulers, but you'll see a lot of despotic rulers who still care about their empire.
Right.
Nero didn't give a fuck about his empire. Nero only gave a fuck about Nero, and that's it.
Oh, yeah. That's confirmed later at the end.
Yeah, one example that's pretty indicative of this is right after he became emperor, what he would do is he would take his friends and they would go in disguise as peasants, and they would go out into the streets of Rome at night and
like rob and pillage.
Just run rampant. Yeah, they would pillage Rome together.
Like Clockwork Orange.
Yes, okay. That's exactly what I'm imagining. A bit of the old ultra violence.
Cod pieces, right?
Little fake eyelashes. Oh, the Korova milk bar.
Bro, I was just going to say milk bar.
I was sitting in the Korova milk bar. That is me and my 3 droogs. Oh, fucking, yeah, so they're out there robbing, smashing shit, and the guards finally stop them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the cops finally get involved because these gang of hoodlums are running through the city causing chaos.
Hold it right there.
Yeah, but they get him, and it's the fucking emperor, and he's like, listen, motherfucker, like, you want to die or you want to just leave me alone right now?
Carry on.
Yeah, so the guards knew this was happening. Everybody knew it was Nero doing it. So what other people started doing is copying them.
Tell me what Nero was wearing. Was it the brown?
I don't know. Whatever a Roman peasant looked like. Probably like a hooded cloak.
Burlap.
Like a toga, some sandals. Yeah. I don't fucking know, but some shit. And other people were like, hey, the cops aren't messing with those dudes. Yeah. So they just started copying them. And in a short time, right after Nero took power, Rome was basically in chaos because of all these gangs running around nonstop terrorizing the city.
Thanks, Nero.
Yeah, like he didn't give a fuck. All he wanted to do was like get his jollies. That's all he cared about. On top of that, he also thought extremely highly of himself as a performer. So like the other sort of fun, wacky thing that Nero was into is he would put on these performances of himself, like putting on plays or singing and playing his lyre. And these performances would last for hours. And while they were going, nobody was permitted for any reason to leave the theater while the emperor was performing. So, like, women gave birth there. People faked being dead So they would be carried out to be buried, and then as soon as they got out the gates of the arena, they'd jump up and run away. People were jumping 20 feet to the ground over the walls to get out. It was absolute carnage. He was a crazy person.
Dude loved his lyre.
Yeah, he sure did.
He jammed that lyre. I think he had a name for it. He called it girl a lot. He's like, come here, girl. Ding, 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 ding.
Like, what's his name?
Lucille.
Yeah, like Lucille.
Baby King.
Yeah. So, young Nero, 17.
Yeah.
Hot off the presses.
In
charge of Rome.
Making things happen.
Yeah, going fucking crazy, getting his jollies out, robbing people, and, banging Rome hookers.
Right.
Yeah. But during the matters of state, like in actual control of the country, because he had to do some shit. He couldn't just do nothing. They had to make him sometimes. Decisions
had to be made. Big ones.
And for the most part, and this was probably her plan all along, Agrippina basically ruled alongside Nero.
Nero's sitting on Agrippina's lap the whole time in one throne. Come here. Come to mama's lap. You come here.
Or mama was sitting on his lap.
Hell yeah. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that was happening too, though. They were ruling the kingdom together, and they were bumping uglies.
So, Nero was torturing his younger stepbrother.
Yeah.
In a bad way.
So, not only one, but two incestuous sexual relationships going on right away in the beginning of this reign.
I mean, not to mention, he probably had to go to Caligula's house for the weekends.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So, I mean, wait till you hear about Caligula, and one time we'll have an episode about him.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole lot of ugly shit going on there, too.
Sexual mischief.
Yeah. Yeah, so there were other influences on him, though, right?
Right. He had a tutor.
His tutor, Lucius Annaeus Seneca, and the Praetorian prefect, the leader of his guard, like the elite soldiery, like a military advisor.
Right.
Yeah, his name was Sextus Afranius Burrus. And these two were generally at odds with Agrippina.
Right.
Yeah, the tutor and the Praetorian guard prefect were at odds with Agrippina. And it became evident over time that Nero was becoming more influenced by sources that were not his mother.
Well, a lot of people noticed the fact that they were printing coins with not only just Nero's face, but with his mother's too, which was like unheard of.
Yeah, and the coins are really interesting looking. It's the only time, I think, right, when more than just the emperor was featured on Roman coins.
Yeah. So that was like, it was kind of like a sign of saying, like, look, you're not just dealing with Nero here. People started, not only did the tutor and the military advisor get rubbed the wrong way from Agrippina, but a lot of other people around.
It's also evidence of how strongly Agrippina can flex her political muscle. Right? Because Nero's a narcissist.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine it would be very difficult to maneuver into him not being alone in that coin. So it just shows to me how good she was at fucking wheeling and dealing.
She sexed her uncle into giving Nero the rightful heir rank. Now she's sexing Nero into making decisions one way.
Yeah, Agrippina's like Cersei.
You want to get into the murder shit? It's perfect right now if we do.
Yeah, so she knew her influence was slipping, and Nero was getting into all kinds of bullshit, and he was starting to kind of get out of control. It seemed like he was realizing that he had this power. It didn't have jack shit to do with his mom anymore. She got it for him, but when he started to realize it was his, then he started, trying to fly the nest a little bit. So, but as his independence grew, she felt more threatened. And she threatened and eventually did shift her support to Britannicus.
She's like, you working on your books, honey?
Yeah, come here. She probably fucked him too.
Yeah, she's like, is Nero doing stuff?
Yeah, but she says, no, he's the natural born son. He's the only rightful emperor. So that, kind of screwed both of them over, because Nero liked that power and he didn't feel like giving it up.
Yeah, keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, so because Britannicus was like, hey, shut the fuck up. I'm just fine. I'm fine over here, just living in luxury, asshole. Don't fucking rock this boat. Yeah, Britannicus wasn't making the claims. She started the whole thing up.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Agrippina.
Mm-hmm. And also, during this point of time, Nero had began an affair. He was cheating on Octavia with a woman named Poppaea. And shortly after all this nonsense kind of started up, Britannicus was assassinated.
This is Nero's emperor, and all of a sudden, not too long, Britannicus is assassinated.
The same woman, the very same, who had been employed to poison Claudius, was engaged for her services again to kill Britannicus. Her name was Locusta, and she could probably handle a whole episode herself too. Pretty fascinating shit.
Locusta.
She failed the first time she tried to assassinate Britannicus, and Nero, he beat the hell out of her with his own hands. Usually kings don't do shit like that. They tell somebody to do it. Nero, again, as you'll see, it'll come up again, he likes the tactile feeling of doing violence upon other people.
Right.
He does it himself quite a lot.
Right.
In increasingly savage and bizarre ways. But so Locusta, the second time she attempted to poison Britannicus, succeeded. And for this, she was given a vast estate away from Rome. And he even began to send her pupils to train in the art of poisoning. It's like the X-Men of poison assassins or some shit.
I was going to say assassins. Teach them how to use that hemlock.
Yeah. So yeah, she was in charge of that, and Nero was like, like her patron. Like he paid for it, set everything up, sent her the students, and that was her life after that for a while.
So Agrippina started siding with Britannica. She also was siding with Octavia during an affair. Not only that, but Agrippina was threatening Nero that she was going to start to come public, and start talking about his homosexuality, with Britannica and other males.
Yeah, so but would that have been a big deal?
It was one of the reasons that Nero had this idea where, hey, I think I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, but he also publicly does homosexual stuff.
So you don't want to involve that?
No, that's fine. I'm just saying it's a bizarre quirk of how it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nero,
maybe
much like Caligula, you'll see later, they were much more libertine about who they were banging those days.
Maybe the person that wrote the info that I read influenced in a modern mindset instead of what was actually happening at the time, because you're right, Caligula was friggin' had naked dudes everywhere. Everyone was partying back then.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I think
it's pretty open society.
I think my source might have been can you believe this shit?
Yeah, made more out of it or something.
Right, but back then they were well, it's normal. Even samurais were doing that shit.
Yeah, so it wasn't only Britannicus that Nero turned his rage upon. He made at least 3 attempts on Agrippina's life, after 3 attempted poisonings, Agrippina finally says, like, I can see the writing on the wall, and she packs her shit and gets out of Dodge.
Yeah.
Okay, so she's out of town, kind of hiding out, and Nero doesn't like that. When he wants something, he wants it. And he wanted her dead, and he still wants her dead.
He's used to things getting done. He says it, and it's supposed to happen. If I want someone dead and off of this earth, I want them off this frickin' earth. Go out there, kill that bitch.
Yeah, so what he does is he plans this huge banquet, and he basically tells his mother, like, you're coming. You don't have a choice.
Let's look. We haven't gotten along. We haven't had a real connection. I ain't trying to talk about in bed, just like in front of everyone. Come on out. Take your ship. Sail on over.
Mm-hmm.
Safe travels.
Yeah, and she says, well, I don't really have a boat. And he says, you could take mine.
Mm-mm. She sails over, and he has another boat ram hers, disabling it, so she has to take the one that he made. So, take it. She's sailing over.
So she's sailing to get to the banquet, and what a coincidence. A freak accident. A boat rams her boat, sinking it.
Weird.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Hopefully, someone in town has a boat she can borrow to get home.
What do you know? Nero's got a boat docked there that she can use. How convenient and nice of him.
Sweet.
Yeah, now what she doesn't know is that it's been sabotaged.
It's been modified.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agrippina is not traveling alone. She has a companion.
Mm-hmm. And the two of them are sharing the sleeping cabin on the boat. And what they didn't know is that the ceiling of the sleeping cabin had been rigged to cave in.
It's heavy lead.
Yeah.
Not only cave in, crushing the people below,
but also
it's so heavy it drops through, like Iron Man drops through the ceiling of his house, drops through the boat, sinking the boat.
Yep. Well, it didn't crush them. They survived the initial sabotage. And while Agrippina was near the boat, her companion swam towards the other boat for rescue. Like, hey, there's another boat. They'll surely rescue us.
Yeah.
As soon as her companion got near it, they clubbed her on the head.
They bonked her.
Yeah,
bonked her on the head like showbiz.
Yeah, fatal bonk.
Yeah.
Whack a companion.
The companion will remain unnamed because we're just saying too many names so far. We're done naming people.
Well, so she's dead, and Agrippina says, and fucking swims for the shore instead.
Doing the frog stroke underwater.
Mm-hmm.
She's using a reed, like a hollowed out reed, like freaking Rambo, like breathing.
Yeah, like some ninja shit.
Yeah. Like a hollowed out.
Kind of like a fucking secret agent. I wouldn't be shocked if she was doing some stuff like that.
So the assassination attempt on the boat fails. Agrippina makes it to shore.
She survives again. Nero doesn't like this at all.
She sends a message to Nero.
Yeah, basically like a fuck you. Like, didn't get me, bitch.
I'm alive.
Yeah.
Nice try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so now he was pissed enough to abandon secrecy, and he just straight up sends a cadre of troops to sail over there and murder her.
One nice detail, though, is that she requested to be stabbed in her stomach.
Oh, yeah, when they roll in and they're like, time to die.
Yeah, bitch.
Yeah, you're going to get it now. She tears open her clothes.
And they're like, what are you doing? You about to sex us?
Yeah.
We're not sexing you.
Murdering you.
We're here to murder you. We've got the place surrounded.
Yeah, so she tears it open to bare her stomach, and she points to her womb and says, stab me here, because it's where Nero came from.
Yeah.
That's some pretty metal shit right there.
So...
some cold-blooded shit to say before you die.
So that's the end of Agrippina. She's killed on that, and she's clubbed and she's stabbed in the stomach.
Nero's soldiers put her down.
So this episode alone, okay, the reason why we were talking this is because Nero had someone tortured on the rack for information when we discussed the rack.
Yeah, that's where
the
Nero
rack
came up.
The rack brought us here to Nero. Now we're talking Nero, and we have an episode we could do on Caligula.
Yep.
The poisoner.
Locusta. Yeah.
Locusta.
She had an interesting life.
Warning, when taking Locusta, do not drive or
operate heavy machinery.
If you have convulsions, stop taking.
If you experience exploding head,
if your
stop taking and contact your doctor immediately. Side effects may include
swollen armpits,
fat toes,
hair loss,
hair growth,
Scandinavian accent,
clubfoot,
double vision,
cleft palate,
dogfoot. No, sorry. I was just making up something.
Random tooth liquefaction,
hoof and mouth symptoms,
migraines,
stink eye.
Deja vu,
bad attitude, sore attitude,
constantly going into a room and then forgetting why you went in there,
cottonmouth,
deja vu.
Stop taking Locusta if you've experienced any of these symptoms. Yeah, Locusta. And then now, we went on and on with the Locusta side effects. That my other one was Agrippina. She could have her own episode. So yeah, Caligula, Locusta, and Agrippina. God damn it, we really got into that Locusta. But hey, this is we're trying to entertain you as very amateur historians.
Yeah.
You know what? That rubs me the wrong way, Impaler.
The description of the show said it the entire time.
Very?
Yeah.
Well, let's edit that. We've evolved into amateur.
All right. You're hearing it here first. From now on, there's no very amateur. We're going to allow ourselves to just be amateur historians.
So Nero...
We paid our dues, I think.
So Nero kills his mother, has his mother killed. He has to face the Senate now because she was the empress.
Yeah, he did it all in the open. No, subterfuge like they usually do.
Like, what happened? Tell us. Be honest. He's like, look, I had her killed. Mm-hmm. What did you frickin' expect? First of all, you know what she's up to. No one likes her. She's trying to kill me.
Yeah, and the Senate was basically like, yeah, sounds good to us.
Party. Let's do it.
Yeah, you're cool.
All right.
Have fun emperoring.
Let's go to Caligula's penthouse.
Yeah.
Bring the wine. And then friggin'...
Yeah, the Senate, not pissed at all.
Totally cool with it. Nero... Let's get into Nero's marriage with Octavia.
Yeah, so as we know, when he was 16, Nero married his stepsister Octavia. Didn't go so good, though. They didn't get along. After several years of marriage, Nero started getting affair happy.
He was doing it with slave women.
Yeah, prostitutes.
Free women.
You name it.
Women that weren't aristocrats. He was like, hey, dressed as a bandit, probably. Like,
yeah.
Hey, it's just me, I'm a bandit. Or am I?
He was just dropping it all over town.
Probably like dudes, too.
I would assume.
We're just assuming.
Yeah, I mean.
We're very amateur, according to Brad.
At least according to Tacitus, at least while Britannicus alive, it was definitely also dudes.
Yeah.
And later on, it will be, too. So, I assume, yeah. He was just literally dropping it all over town. And one of these affairs turned out to be pretty serious. And this was with a woman named Poppaea Sabina.
Right.
And it probably became serious because she was pregnant.
Nice one. Wait, so Octavia at this point has never been pregnant?
Has never borne him a child, no. So he claimed that Octavia was barren. Mm-hmm. Which maybe was true. Mm-hmm. And he accused her of cheating with his former tutor, Anicetus.
Right.
So because he levied those charges, he was able to divorce Octavia, and he married Poppaea only 12 days later.
It's heartbroken.
Yeah, and Poppaea, though, didn't necessarily like having Octavia hanging around, so Nero had Octavia banished.
Quote, put your fingers in quotes. Nero had her banished. It's all papaya.
Yeah, papaya. She sort of reminds me of Agrippina.
Yeah.
Which also leads me to believe that those maybe
spirit.
some mommy issues going around in his psyche after all the adultery and constant intrigues and not adultery, incest. I mean, so Octavia got the boot and she got kicked out of Rome, while Poppaea and Nero settling together.
The town of Rome. Mm-hmm. They uprise. They don't uprise, but they protest.
Yeah, they were pissed. They took to the streets.
They loved her. Octavia.
Yeah, they called for her return. It was upsetting enough and kind of disruptive enough that at one point Nero said he would consider remarrying Octavia.
Papaya's like, what?
Yeah. And his behavior indicates even more that she was probably of the vein of Agrippina, because instead of remarrying Octavia, like it seems like his original plan was, he had her executed.
Quote unquote, he.
Yeah, again, quote unquote, Nero did.
Right. So, how did Octavia end up? What was the end? How did Octavia's life come to an end?
Yeah, Nero, he didn't like all the disruption and planned to marry Octavia again. He said that he planned to do that, but I imagine once Poppaea caught wind of that, she wasn't happy about it. Mm-mm. And in another move that makes me think she's a little bit like Agrippina, instead of marrying Octavia, Nero orders her execution.
Yeah, like imagine the quotes, quote unquote, Nero. Mm-hmm. Like another time Poppaea's whispering in Nero's ear, like, oh man, you should maybe do this.
And she was so loved by the people of Rome, Octavia, that no one, including her, would admit to any wrongdoing, even under torture.
Of her, like, adultery and the crimes that were she's accused of.
Yeah, they couldn't find anyone to provide evidence that she'd done it, but, I mean, when you're the emperor, eventually you get what you want, and Octavia was executed.
So, what was how was Octavia killed?
Well, it seems like she was allowed to have sort of the dignified, aristocratic kind of death. She was bound, and her veins were opened for her in the manner of, a traditional Roman suicide ritual.
Like wrists?
Yeah. And after that, she was suffocated in an exceedingly hot vapor bath.
Hot box.
Yeah, and from time to time, people die in saunas.
Yeah, yes, they do.
That's a throwback.
What episode? Oh, Brazen Bull.
Yep.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
God, we learn so much from our show. It's amazing. Hotbox sauna. So that's it for Octavia? I'm just kidding. She was killed and suffocated in a hotbox. Then,
well, after she was suffocated, her head was removed, and then it was sent to Poppaea.
By FedEx. A van pulls up. A guy comes out with here's a bag. So you want to sign for this?
Standing under a couple of power towers.
Middle of Rome, no one around. Poppaea's like, yeah, go ahead, sign for it, Nero. Go ahead. Uh-huh. Nero's like, opens it up. He looks in the box. He's like, Poppaea's like,
what's in the box?
No, you don't want to know. It's awful.
What's in the box?
I'm telling you right now, I almost puked myself. You don't want to know.
Yeah, except Poppaea did want to know because she fucking asked for it.
Got her money's worth.
Obviously a fucking psychopath too. She's like, this bitch, she didn't even do anything. She was banished. It was just the fact that the people wanted her back so much where she was like, nah, I'm going to collect her fucking head instead.
So Poppaea moves in, gets pregnant, has her banished. Freaking town goes crazy. Nero's like, maybe I should have her back. You're right. Maybe I'll marry her. Who knows? Poppea's like, have her killed. Now Poppea's got her head in a box. Like, I wonder who was making those decisions.
Yeah, it seems like he was probably getting told what to do there.
Poppea's sitting there. She's got her box with the head and under one arm.
Yep.
She just walks off into the sunset, living happily ever after.
Well, for a little while. If she was making moves, getting Nero to perform these executions and collect ex-wives' heads for her, eventually he got sick of all the chirping in his ear. Because one night he came home late from a chariot race.
The cackling.
I don't know, man. But all she did was complain that he came home late from a chariot race. So he beat his pregnant wife to death.
No one comes home. Normal husbands don't come home from chariot races that late, Henry.
Well, evidently emperor ones do, and then beat you to death if you have the nerve to complain about it.
You know Goodfellas? When he comes late, like, Henry. He's like laughing at him. Remember he comes home late and the wife starts yelling at him, so he just turns around and goes right back to the car with Tommy.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, hey, Henry.
I haven't seen it in too long.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Comes home late from chariot races, cackling.
Yeah, so you might think that him beating his pregnant wife to death would be the end of this particular strain of horrors, but if you did, you'd be mistaken.
Wasn't there kicking downstairs involved?
I don't hear anything about stairs.
That was my own fantasy?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's kicking, I'm sure, but I don't know about stairs.
As an amateur historian, I got to remember to not cross my own fantasies with history facts.
Yeah, it's tough, especially because there's myths about shit that like I super believed until I would start doing research about it. This wasn't the end of the degradations in the Poppeia saga. Evidently, Nero may have had some feelings because he apparently regretted killing Poppeia. Because what he did after the fact was he found a 12-year-old boy that looked exactly like Poppeia, had him castrated, and then married him in an extremely elaborate public ceremony.
Normal stuff. Normal Nero.
Normal grieving. We all know the last stage of grief, marrying a young castrated boy.
I will call you Poppeia.
Yeah.
You'll see.
God, that poor little bastard, man.
Again, if you go back in time, best thing you want to do if all of a sudden Nero wants you to marry him and be his boy toy, you want to cut your throat.
Yeah,
you don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to be around for this.
You don't want the long death because eventually your ass is dead.
Yeah, I didn't see what happened to him, but I assume he didn't make it out of this alive.
I'm sure he'll be poisoned. No, actually, I think Nero probably dies eventually before that guy dies. He probably lives. You know what I mean? Because Nero eventually dies after at the end.
With no nuts and never having gone through puberty.
You know what? People survive.
Yeah.
He's a eunuch.
Yeah, by the time Nero died, that Poppeia substitute probably looked like fucking Andy Milonakis.
These grapes are delicious. You gotta try these grapes and this cheese, Nero. I told you to talk with a higher voice. I'm 14 now, Nero. I have deep voice, Nero. Thus far, we've reported many different awful, atrocious things from the Roman history, the HRE, Holy Roman Empire. But Nero is probably best known for one particular huge disaster that he caused.
Yes. And that would be the much famed Fire of Rome. In the middle hours between July 18th and 19th, a massive fire started. And there were several different versions of accounts as to kind of how it started. Pliny the Elder, Dinner in Hell All-Star, one of the people who give us those accounts.
Yeah, we should have him on if we could.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Get a
And
little
then I
phone
need to
booth.
get like a time phone.
Go back in time or time travel.
Yeah. Pick up Socrates along the way.
Right. Many historians documented the tales as to how the account of how it went down. Some was secondhand, some was eyewitness. But there was many different versions of the story, kind of narrowed down in like a couple different versions, right?
Absolutely. In some stories, Nero watched on as it burned, playing his lyre either in a tower or outside of town, some safe place to watch the fire from.
Somewhere hillside.
Yeah, some say that he sent men out to drunkenly pretend they'd done it on accident. Other reportings have the men just freely admitting that they're burning the city on orders from Nero.
Yeah.
But the common consensus between historians is that it was done on purpose and Nero was not there. He wasn't watching it playing any musical instrument.
Why are you crossing me on this? I'm just kidding. All reports say that he's playing the lyre. And then one report said he was on a stage playing the lyre. He wasn't playing the lyre at all. I heard that the lyre strings popped once they hit the flames of Rome hit them. They were like ping, 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 ping. It was unplayable. Disproving Pliny the Elder's freaking secondhand tale.
Yeah, I wonder what the strings probably were made of, like gut strings, you think?
Cat gut.
Yeah.
Some say Nero was chilling in Antium, the place where he was born. The
Yes.
little suburb of Rome.
Yeah, I believe
With
that's the consensus, is that he was over in Antium while the fire was, so he could like have an alibi, I guess, from the people.
Which not many people know this, but Antium is actually, like, if you were to fly to Rome, that's where Rome's airport was.
Oh,
The Holy
yeah.
Roman airport was in Antium, but you had to like take a carriage and a chariot into
Well,
Rome.
not the Holy Roman City Airport.
Oh, great! This is county.
It's the Roman Metropolitan Airport.
Yeah,
But that's where the only international flights go.
I think the actual airport initials is HRE, like on the thing, like, oh, HRE flight. If I said anything about Holy Roman Empire, I just remember something, Brad. If for some reason I said hell, I got confused with, obviously, with Roman and Roman. Holy Roman Empire, that's like a whole different era, right?
Yeah, that was until way, way later when Constantine did it. Yeah, so the consensus being that he did it on purpose. If he did it on purpose, why did he do it?
Didn't he want a whole new palace, and they wouldn't because we already got this palace. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, he wanted an insane palace, and it wasn't going to happen because there was already a palace, and Rome had already been established for quite a while, so there was no available real estate. So he just decided to make some available real estate.
Jesus.
Yeah, so he had them burn down a very substantial portion of the city. In my mind, the way I thought of it is like, imagine if Central Park didn't exist until somebody set that portion of fully developed New York City on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it was a large bit of land that he cleared to build his palace, which he then did.
Wasn't there a famous quote once it was finished, had like gold ceilings, gold this and that, and then he said finally.
Yeah, the palace was crazy ornate. It literally it was called the Golden Palace. It literally in some places had gold ceilings and walls.
They served Chinese food, takeout. It was crazy.
Golden Palace. It does kind of sound like a Chinese restaurant.
Golden Palace, it sounds like a adult magazine store.
Combination.
Or Chinese
takeout. Restaurant.
Golden
Combination Palace. Thai massage.
You want to try Barbara check on free sample?
Yeah, well, anyway, he gets his palace, and when he sees this, which is probably the most fucking garish, like, bougie thing that's ever been built in the world, all he had to say about it was, finally, now I can live like a human being.
That son of a bitch.
Could you imagine being around this motherfucker for 2 minutes? I would lose my goddamn mind.
Let's not forget, he's got this new palace, but let's not forget, after he set that place on fire, he also shifts the blame on the small little group of weirdos over there on the little end of town they called the Christians.
Oh, yeah, there was no...
Christians was new.
There was no like a good neighbor situation going down. So when that portion of Rome burned to the ground, hundreds of thousands of people were left with absolutely nothing. They were completely destitute. So people were pissed. People were pissed about the fire, and they were pissed at Nero. So he had to direct that blame, like you said, to the small group of weirdos, this offshoot Jewish sect known as the Christian.
This is 64. This is year 64. So, now we're at 2017 and Christianity is like everywhere, but this is 64. Christianity is very new.
Yeah, theoretically, 30 or so years after Jesus dies.
So like you said, he's got this small group of upset people that want answers, and they look to their leader, and he's like, we're gonna put a stop to these little bastards over here. We'll build a fucking wall.
Their religion's different from you.
Yeah. So we're gonna do something different. I'm gonna make Rome awesome again.
Yep.
Rome is gonna be better, as great as it used to be.
Building a gold palace and persecuting a religious minority. Man, glad that stuff doesn't happen anymore. I'm glad a psychopath like Nero can't ever gain control of a major country again.
Right.
I'm just glad that the future is so much brighter.
Right. We get nicer is what you're saying.
Yeah. So this set things up for the first systematic persecutions of Christians in history.
That's right.
Yep. One major aspect of the way Christians' belief was expressed in those days is that they would never deny their faith. And that's something that's still prominent among Christians today. They won't deny being a Christian. So because Nero had declared Christians responsible for the fire, it was really, really simple. Because then, if you admitted to being a Christian, which almost all Christians would do, you were immediately confessing to arson.
You're guilty.
Yeah, for which you would then be tortured and executed.
Oh, let's talk about some of the other things that they would do to these Christians.
Yeah, they sent them out Jesus style, crucifixions. That was a prominent punishment meted out during that period of time.
Dipped in oil, lit on fire.
Yeah.
On these poles.
It was you that brought to my attention, Ron, that Nero would line his garden with these oil-dipped Christians and set them on fire to eat dinner by.
Jeez. To light his garden, kind of like city streetlights. Like, I don't need streetlights. I got these Christian corpses. They freaking slow burn.
How horrifying is that shit?
Slow burn.
Awful.
The smell. It smells like barbecue all the time. I know it's human, but it's still barbecue and meat, ladies and gentlemen.
And it reminds me of Vlad.
Right.
Yeah.
Vlad the Impaler. Look it up. Impalement episode.
I don't know how you can eat with that kind of shit going on in your garden, but I mean,
how can you imagine? Could you imagine trying to eat suckling baby when you got like burning bodies? I'm just kidding. Suckling baby. Bringing it back.
Yeah, he would just walk around admiring the burning bodies like the true crazy Norman Bates great motherfucker he is.
68, the year 68, the Common Era. Finally, the people that are around Nero in government and Senate, they've had enough of his ass.
Yep, the governors kind of start turning on him one after the other because he's so badly mismanaged the empire. Like the Roman Empire's decline in a lot of ways can be traced directly to Nero.
They had no problem with like the murders and stuff. They're like, no, nice job on the murders. Good job on the rack use. You're great with that. Everything's going great with your punishments. Your punishments are right there. It's just the other shit.
So,
the ruling part.
Eventually it became sort of clear that all the provincial governments were all going to turn on him. The Senate, in what I assume was an effort to preserve itself, declared Nero the enemy of the people, and Nero fled.
His guards turned on him.
Yeah, he attempted to go into hiding.
They caught him.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, look, you were tried. You weren't there. You've been charged with absentia.
Yep.
Basically, you're guilty for not representing yourself.
Yeah, he was convicted.
You're sentenced to death now.
Mm-hmm. And when he was declared an enemy of the people.
Now, there's one story says that they killed him. There's another that say that he took his own life.
Yeah. I think the most of the reports I saw that he committed suicide.
Thus, making him the first and only emperor to take his own life.
Yeah. Yep. That's a tough step for an emperor to take.
So one day, I mark my words, you're going to be watching Jeopardy, and they're going to be like, Final Jeopardy, boom, Roman emperors. Okay, this should be good. Goes a commercial, a leave, they come back. Frickin' this Roman emperor committed suicide. You're going to be like, what is Nero? Thanks, Dinner in Hell. You're welcome.
Yep, and this could be number 5. This could be Jeopardy answer number 5. We get you.
You watch.
If I could leave you with just one last interesting tidbit about the nightmare personality that was Nero.
Oh, God. I just ate.
One of his, favorite pastimes that he liked to do is he would dress himself in an animal skin. And he would hide in a den in the woods. And his guards would have beforehand picked out some men and women from among the commoners and tied them to stakes out in the forest near the den. At which point, Nero would come scrambling out of the den in his animal skin and savagely attack the genitals of the people who were placed on the stakes in the forest.
This is so freaking messed up.
Makes you wonder what leaders today get up to behind closed doors.
You know how you watch a movie like say Star Wars? You see and it'll be like a very climactic scene. You're like, whoa, this movie was intense, and then boom, it's calm. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, bang, another climactic closing. Mm-hmm. It's like we were kind of done.
Like the end of Friday the 13th?
No, we were kind of out with okay, so he's out of power and he commits suicide. The end, right? No, Brad comes in with animal suit Johnny running out eating genitals. He did it. I think he did it with I think he had claws or something he made with animals' claws. He made animal bear hands for his own hands.
Either that or he did it with his teeth.
I hope he was a man. He was man enough to do it with his own teeth, Look, don't judge me on modern ideology or logic now, folks. Judge me on 63 AD or whatever, CE. Judge me on those standards. You were doing shit with your own mouth back then.
Yeah. Like a man would. Well, we've heard all kinds of fucked up shit about Nero today, and
Thanks.
we've heard all kinds of fucked up shit about all kinds of shit that's connected to him.
Thanks, Nero.
Yep. If you've heard anything today that you want us to develop further or you think deserves its own episode, you can tell us. Easiest way to do that is on Twitter. We're on Twitter at Dinner and Hell Pod. You can tweet at us. We are on Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can email us at dinnerandhellpodcast@gmail.com. As always, all of our episodes are
free, awesome,
archived over at dinnerandhell.com.
Nice.
And please don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or rate and subscribe on iTunes. It really helps us a lot. I gotta tell you, killer show tonight, Ron.
Killer band.
Listen to them. Just making beautiful music.
Breathe them in. Let's just be quiet for a second and listen to him.
Okay.
Yeah. And I like the crowd.
Oh, thanks to the studio audience for being here tonight.
You guys are great.
Thank you to all the listeners. We've had a great time talking about Nero. Hope you learned something.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, Ron. Good night.